We're on the bottom of an Aleph on the base by the Mishnah. I have to tell you, this next blot, it's a whole new thing. I find it very confusing. I have a hard time like understanding what the Gemara is saying. A lot of it is just like really uh, obscure. It's cryptic. So like the Mishnah. Until now, we've been talking about a sale. When someone buys or sells something, if the sale is for more or less than the share of Aina, which we had a machlekes, if it's a sixth or a third, then we saw the dinei of Aina apply. Now we're talking about cash, about coins. On the bottom of an aleph on the base, the Mishnah right near the bottom, 4 lines in the bottom. So now we're talking about money. We're talking about money changing. How much will there be when you use money that is deteriorated? They used to use coins, and coins were valued based on their weight. And the mintings were really just to verify how much it was, how much weight there was. So if you had a coin that had eroded, it had lost some of its weight. Until what point is there a din of Aina? That means until what point can you just use it and just treat it as being its full value? But Meiraima Arba Isris, one, it could be there's two ways of calculating the same thing. Which would be 4 isaris for a seller, or Isser Ladina, or Isser Ladina. Either one of these cheshbonis comes out to a 24th. There's a whole cheshbon you could go through about how to figure it out, but there's just two ways of expressing the same thing. 4 isaris of there are 96 isrin in a seller. So when we say arba isaris, meaning from a seller, that's 1/24th, or iser ladina, there are 24 isarim in a dinar, or another way of saying that is that there are 4 dinrim in a seller. So that's also a 24. So if a coin, but again, the point is, if a coin has eroded more than a 24th, already you can't spend it and treat it as if it's you don't say there's mechila, you can't say that you could spend it like that. The Gemara will explain why is there a much smaller margin on coins that are eroded as opposed to when we spoke about a chayfetz, when you buy something, the din of Einah, but the value of a chayfetz. Yehuda Aimer Arba Punjonis, he says it's 4 punjonis. A punjon is twice as much as as an iser, so he holds it's a 12th. Punjon ladiner, again, a punjon ladiner is another way of expressing 1/12. If the coin has deteriorated by 1/12, already that's a din of Ainah. Rav Shimon Aimer Shmoina punjonis. He says it's 8 punjonis, which is double, so that's a 6th. Shnei punjonim ladina, which is 2 punjonim to a dinar. So this is, which is also a 6th. So this Rav Shimon, as it happens, says the shear of Ainah on a coin is the same as the shear of Ainah when someone sells an object, like we said in the previous Mishnah. The other two shitas which said a 12th or a 24th, were much more machmir. You have to be much more careful about coins, not to use a deteriorated coin than selling something for, right? The shear of the Tanakam and the other Mishnah was a 6th. When we talked about when you buy or sell something, that it can't be undervalued or overvalued, we said it was by a 6th. Now we're saying when the money itself is deteriorated, the first two Tanoim say 24th or 12th, which is a more precise, obviously a smaller discrepancy. Rosh Shimon says no, it's the same discrepancy as it by every other din of Einah. Ad Mosai mutar lahachzer. Until when if it's more than this amount, can the person who was given this coin, until when can he come back and say, like we said before, like we had by a sale of an item, we said also there was a limit. We talked about how long does he have to check it out. So we have the same question about this. So until when can the person who was defrauded go back to the person who, which in this case is the seller who received the coin? Until when can he go back to the purchaser and tell him the coin you gave me is unacceptably light? So we say, if he's in a city where there are many money changers, so he just has the amount of time, whatever it is, an hour, to go to a shulchan and check out the coin. And in a kfar, in a small village, like we're going to see later on, then everyone goes to the city on Erev Shabbos. Then he can so then he has a chance then to check it out. We'll see later on. When he's going to try to spend it for Shabbos, then people will tell him that he has a bad coin. The Mishnah continues, if he was aware that it was a not good coin, even after 12 months, he can be makabelet, and he's makabelet, and there's not, all he has is terumas. The Gemara will explain. This is obviously very hard to understand what we're talking about here. The Gemara will explain what this case is. And he could use a coin that is degraded, which is already past this point, whatever it is, according to the different shittas. You could use it for Maisa Sheni, and there's no problem, because only a person who is churlish, someone who has a bad attitude, would make a fuss about it. I mean, we're saying that a person certainly has the right to not accept whatever he wants, but you really should still use it, because most people will just, since everyone who doesn't use it is looked on as being stingy, so if you keep using it, it will be fine. The next guy probably also won't be stingy. Somewhere along the line, you'll come up with one guy who's a nitpicker and is going to make a fuss about it. So since it normally would be used, we're saying in the Mishnah what the din is. At least this is what the Gemara means at this point. The din is that you don't have to accept it, and you can go back and say, give me back I want a good coin, or I want to give me back my chayfetz that I sold to you, and here's back your bad coin. But normally a person won't do that. So therefore, since it's generally good to be used, you could also use it for Ma'aser Sheni, to be Mechalia Ma'aser Sheni. Okay, go back. Now we're going to go back to the original din. We said in the Mishnah had started, Kama tehei sela chasera, below yehei ba'oino. How much can it be missing, and it won't have a din of oina? Which that's mashma, that if it does have that amount, if it has exactly a 24th or a 12th or a 6th, it would have a din of oina. Right? The mashmois of the Mishnah is the precise amount would be oina. For a mini, correct the Gemara, we have a brayse that says that's mashma fakat. At kamatei asel chaser v'yehei ba'oina. How much can it be missing, and that it will have a din of oina? So it's mashma. We're going to quote the whole Mishnah in a minute, but from this it's mashma that if it has that precise amount, according to our Mishnah, it's mashma that if it has the exact 24th or 12th or 6th, there is no oina up till that amount, including it, there's no oina. But this brisa says the other way around. How much can it have be missing, and it will have oina, and includes those amounts? It's not sure. Our Mishnah, which is mashma, that if it is the precise amount, let's say a 24th, that it's not going to have it. We said it's mashma that it's not going to be I know. It's really not. That's he's saying it's going from. He's saying if you have a coin that is good, and how much will it have to be good? How much will it have to be considered I know? So he's even though it sounds like he's saying that if it has that amount, it's not going to be I know, because he's counting. He's saying how much will it be for something that is good to become not good. So he's meaning to say that even if it is exactly 24th, it does have I know, which is not the way you would normally read it. Tana Baraka Choshev Lamata. But the Brisa was doing it the way you would normally say, how much will a not good coin, a more not good coin, until what point will it become good? So it has to, it's still no good when it's missing, when it's a 24th, it's missing a 24th of its value. Okay. So now we get to the central question. Maishna besela de pligi, or Maishna betalus delay pligi. The Gemara asks the basic question: why, in our previous Mishnah, when we were talking about a talus, when someone buys an object, we said that the amount of a no is a sixth, and there's no machlekes. We have in our Mishnah, we had Ramey and Rabbi Yehuda said that it's a 24th or 12th, and Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda did not argue about a talus. But over here, they do argue. Rav Shimon said a sixth, which is the same as the Tanakama of the Bayatalis. When you're buying something, by a coin, he said it's the same sixth. And Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda argued on him, but they didn't argue in the previous mission about a talis. So why is there a disagreement over here, legabe a coin that is eroded, but there isn't the same machlekes legabe a talis? Amarava mantana talis, Rav Shimon he. So Rava gives the easy way out. He says no. The reason why there's no machlekes is because we were just saying over there the shita of Rav Shimon. We just didn't say Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Meir's shita, but they would argue in the previous din of Oina, when you buy something, how much it's worth. But they would argue there as well. And in our Mishnah, we brought the full machlekes. Abaya disagrees. Abaya says no. It's taka different din when someone buys something for less than or more than its value, where we only say the din of Oina is a sixth, as opposed to a coin that's missing some of its weight, where there's a smaller discrepancy is also going to be considered. I know it's going to be considered fraud. Abaya says Abaya is up to a sixth. Machal inish. The person will be machal. Ami inshi asik liabech b'shavi lekreisech. You should even overpay for a talus, for something what you need to wear. Legabech meaning for your back. V'shavi lekreisech, and you'll pay what you need to for your stomach. But the point is, before we were talking about a talus, we were talking about buying something to wear. So a person is more quick to be meichel on that. He'll be meichel up to a sixth because he just needs it. He needs to have something to wear, and if he needs something to wear, it's taka worth more than what he had to pay. If that's what he has to pay, that's what he has to pay. Sela kiven de sagi le machel, but money is only worth it. Money is worth. It's only worth what it's worth. You're not willing to take a haircut on money. You only need money to buy other things, and if it's worth less, if it can't buy other things, if you buy something that's even a 24th worth a 24th less than its value, you're losing. So people are not meichel. People are much more medactic in money. Gufa. We're going to quote that entire brisa. We had brought originally, the Gemara had brought the brisa where we said the mashmoy seemed to be slightly different than our Mishnah as far as whether the exact amount of a no is going to be usher or not, whether you have to be returned or not. Now we're going to quote that entire brisa. Gufa. How much can a seller be missing and it should have a din of Aina. Remeir Aima Arba Isaris Isaladina. This is the copy of our Mishnah. Remeir says up to a 24th. Either 4 Isarin for a Selo or 1 Isaladina, but it's 24th. Yehuda Aimer Dal Punjanis Punjaladina. Rabbi Yehuda says his shita, which is a 12th. Rabbi Shimon Aimer Shmoina Punjanis Shnei Punjanin Ladina. Shimon says a 6th. Yeser al Kain, more than that, Moichrei b'shivuya. He has to sell it for what it's worth, which we're going to see. We're going to see later on in the Gemara. That means if it wasn't Yeser al Kain, sounds like it means if it was deteriorated more than these amounts, then you sell it for its worth. But that doesn't really make any sense. What it means, so we're going to explain later on, is that if it's not Yeser al Kain, if the amount of the seller is more than this, then that means it's not deteriorated as much. It's worth more than the limit of Aina. Then Moicha b'shivuya, then you could use it as at its face value, not biyafia, which would mean its actual value, but you sell it at the full value. It means you're not really selling it. It means you could use it if it's let's say, let's consider a seller to be $1, and we're saying it has to be a 24th. So if it's deteriorated by 1 cent, so that's only 1/100th, then you could sell it. You could use it as a full dollar. So the Brisa continues. Ad kama tipoches b'herishai lekaima. The Brisa says a separate din. Until now, we've been talking about the din of Aina, of how much can a coin be deteriorated and still be used at face value. Now we're going to say that there's a certain point at which a coin becomes also to keep around. If you know, like you can, I think you can, the Secret Service will throw you in jail for holding on to counterfeit money. I think it's illegal to hold counterfeit money. So similarly, there's a point at which the coin has eroded so much that it could already be confused with a smaller coin and misused, and or it could be, or where it's a menace to have it around. People are not meichel those amounts, and therefore we say you just have to dispose of it. So yeser al kain meichel rishivuya ad kama tipachas v'herishai lekaima. How much can it go down and you're still allowed to keep it? So we say b'sala shekel b'dinar. B'sala shekel. A seller up to a shekel. A shekel is half of a seller. So if it's deteriorated by 50%, if 50% of the metal of the bullion is missing from a coin, at that point you have to get rid of it. But up to a seller, you could keep it. But dinar ad roiva, and a dinar until a quarter. The Gemara is going to ask, what's the difference? Why is a dinar a quarter? So we're going to have to reinterpret that. Pachas mikain, less than that. Iser, by an iser, asr, or asal haitziyah. Now this is a strange comment. We're saying if it's less than that by an iser, then it's asr. I'm going to say, what do you mean? We just said that up to a half, it's more than a half, you have to get rid of it. So why are we saying now if it's more than a half plus an iser, it's asr? The Gemara will explain. Hareza, correct. The Gemara says, Hareza loyim kuranu. So if you have such a coin that's less than this amount, you shouldn't sell it loy latager, not to a merchant, because a merchant, we're worried he's going to use it in his business and pass it on to someone else, this coin that you're not allowed to have. Loy lecherim, loy leharug, you can't sell it, give it to who's the type of person going to take it? Someone who's an extortionist or a harug, or a guy who kills people, a thug. But they're the people who will be willing to take it because they'll say, "Don't worry, sell it to me at its value. It's less than a half. Sell it to me. Don't worry, I'll deal with it." And then what they're going to do is they're going to force people to take it from them. Because they're going to cause other people to use it. Elik Vena should make a hole in it. You should hang it. You should make a hole in it and use it as a jewelry and to hang it around your son or your daughter's neck. So Taisus explains that means even though there's a din that you can't use it and you have to take it out of circulation, you could sell it to a regular person. If you have a friend who says, I want it for a chain around my daughter's jewelry around my daughter's neck, so you could sell it to them and they'll do it. But don't sell it to a meicher, to a storekeeper, or to a thug who were worried that they're going to put it back into circulation. You can only sell it to someone who you can assume is going to do the right thing and take it out of circulation. Amar Ma, Beselat shekel, b'dinar ad roiva. We said a seller could be up to a shekel, but if it's more than half, if it's deteriorated by half its worth, then you have to dispose of it. But b'dinar ad roiva, a dinar has to be a quarter. So why would a dinar have to be if it's only deteriorated by a half? You could still keep it around. Maishna b'selat shekel or maishna b'dinar ad roiva. Why is a shekel a half and a dinar a quarter? My roiva diktani nami roiva shekel. He says no, a roiva doesn't mean a quarter of a dinar. It means a quarter of a shekel, which is half of a dinar. So it's essentially saying the same rule. So you could have a seller, half of a shekel of a seller is a shekel, and a dinar could be a quarter of a shekel, which is a half of a dinar. Amar Rava, dekanami tani roiva. The tani roiva, we said a quarter, like tani revia, and not a fourth. When we say a roiva, means something worth. It's a noun. A roiva is a noun. Masha'enkin revia means a fourth, which is, I don't know what that is, an adverb, an adjective, a fourth. So when you say a roiva, you're meaning of something that is a quarter of something, or like we would say, like when we talk about a quarter of a dollar, we say a quarter. That's calling it a quarter. But we didn't use the lashon. If we wanted to say a fourth of a dinar, we would have said a fourth of a dinar. Revia, we would have said a quarter, which is a noun. Shmamina. Why did we say half of a dinar? Why did we say a quarter of a shekel, which is a half a dinar? Because we wanted to say that that a shekel that goes to a dinar, a shekel can become a dinar. Up to a dinar, you can keep it. So by saying that a dinar, we're saying a dinar is a roiva of a shekel, we're trying to say that a seller itself can become a shekel. You wanted to say the first thing that we had said. That a shekel can become a dinar. If a dinar, if you had a shekel that was deteriorated by a half, so then you could still keep it. But dinar haba misela. But if a dinar, which is a quarter of a sela, that's also lekaime because it's too much. Okay. We said that in the middle of this brisa, we said that the rule is if it's a half, the thing had got deteriorated by half, you can no longer keep it around. You have to take it out of circulation. And then we said pachas became less than this iser by an iser, it's also loitzia. Then you can't keep it. My comment. What are you saying? Why should there be? We said that the amount is a half. Why are we now saying that it has to be a half plus an iser? He said it's not going on this din, right? The brisa had two parts. The first part was saying the din of Ainah, of if it's less than a quarter or a twelfth or a sixth, that the person who got it can go back to the person who gave it to him and demand his money back. And the second part of the brisa is this din that if it's less than a half, that you can't keep it in circulation. So Bai says this is going back to the first din, and it's saying if the din of Oina, by the din of Oina, if it was more than an Isser, then it's also you can't keep it around, meaning also that even if the person was willing, the way Taisus explains it, the way Taisus explains Rashi really, is that even if the person who gave it to him says that I'm willing to make up the amount, he still can't. You can't sell it at the original amount. You can't say how much the face value. So, Zakt Gemara, why does it have to be an Isser? Why, even if it's any amount at all, you shouldn't be allowed to use it. Why? You can't use it for its full value. Once it's past the past limit of I know, why does it say only if it's an additional Isser on top of it? Elama Rava, so Rava says a different shot. Hachsa Sela Isser Ledinur Asa. The stomach Remeir. What's coming to tell you is that a whole different thing. It's saying the din of Remeir. Remeir, it said that the amount is a 24th, and was saying that din over again. If a seller went down by an Isser, which is a 24th, then it's Asr. And it's a stamius. So we're just throwing in that after we said the machlekes, we're saying minastam that halacha is like Remeir, that if it went down by an Isser from a seller, that's considered to be Aina. It's not Hassan. We learned in a mission over there. Let's just do a couple more minutes more so we can at least turn the page. Tanan Hasam, Seller Shenifsala, the Skinish Yeshaikel Ba Mishkalis. Someone who had a seller that was taken out of circulation, it's no longer able to be used, or it became eroded past the point where you're allowed to keep it, and you decide to use it as a weight. Tmei. It becomes Tamei because once it becomes a weight, it becomes a Kli. So now it becomes a Kli that's able to be Makabal Tumah. A coin cannot be Makabal Tumah. It's not a Kli. Only a Kli can be Makabal Tumah. But once you change it into a weight, using it for a weight, so now it's something that's used as a Kli. Ad Kaba Tipachas V'yei Rishai L'Kaima. Until how much can it go down and you're allowed to keep it? L'sela Shnei Dinner. For a seller, it could be up to 2 dinner, which is half. 2 dinners is a shekel, which is half of a seller. Pachas mikain, less than that yikuts. You have to destroy it. Yes or kain mai. What about more than that? Amravuna pachas mikain yakuts. Yes or kain yikuts. Ravuna says there's no difference whether it's more or less than that, as long as it's above the amount of a nar. Ravuna says you have to destroy it. That means it doesn't. That because in either case it could be confused, which obviously it seems to be shver from our Mishnah, which doesn't indicate that it could be destroyed. It has to be from our previous brisa said it seemed to say that only when it's half you have to destroy it. Now we're saying as long as it's more than the share of I know you have to destroy it. Ravami yes or Ravami says kapashas, right? If it's more than half, you have to destroy it. More than that, you kind. Meisvei yes or meicher b'shivuya. We're going to ask them, what about from our brisa? That our brisa says that if it's more than this, which seems to mean that if the value of the coin is more than it's not more than this, you could sell for sure. Doesn't that mean that if it's more than the amount for oina, even if it's not, as long as it's not half, you could sell it for its worth. You can't sell it for face value, but you could sell it for its worth. That you could, but you don't have to destroy it. What it means more, it means if it does not reach the amount of oina, meicher b'shivuya, he could sell it not to the so b'shivuya means in this case normally shivuya would mean the actual value. We're understanding shivuya in this case to mean what it was worth as an original coin. So all it's saying is that if it's less than the share of Aino, you could sell it at face value. Okay, let's get if you don't mind, we'll just go another couple of minutes to get to the two dots. Meisvei, ad kamati pachas v'yerushay l'kaimo. Until how much can it go down in value and then you could keep it? Besela ad shekel. Besela until half. So that was our brisa before. Mile of the pachas porta. Doesn't it mean that it went down a little bit? It went all the way down from the share of Aino, and it kept on getting deteriorated until it reached half. But according to Rav Huna, as soon as it gets past the share of Aino, you have a chiyuv to get rid of it. So Gemara loy the nafel nura of efchas b'chadazim. We're talking about where a coin that fell into a fire and it went immediately from the share of Aino all the way down to a half. But Einachanami, it would have to be destroyed as soon as it's past the share of Aino. Amar Mar, we said in the brisa that he should make it as a coin to hang around his child's neck. If you have a coin that's deteriorated to the point where it's a menace to have it around, you shouldn't keep it around as a weight amongst your weights. And he shouldn't throw it amongst his spare parts. And he shouldn't hang it around the neck of his son or daughter. He should either grind it down, or he should cut it up, or he should bang it into to unrecognizable. Throw it into the sea. So it says clearly that you can hang it around your daughters because maybe it will come off. If you make a hole straight through the middle, then it's obviously disqualified. No one's ever going to think it's a good coin. Like when you cut a check in half, when you rip a check in half. But if you cut off a corner, so if there's a hole in the corner, then we're still worried that maybe someone will just grind off the hole and try to use it as is. Have a good Moed, and hopefully we'll learn tomorrow.
Same time?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is a good time for me for Chol Hamoed, if you don't mind.